Today on Wood Turning, we're turning history.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Robust, built to turn wood, enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best-in-class carbide wood turning tools. This thing is over 100 years old. It's a spindle from a historic house my friends are restoring, Forrest and Melissa. And they called me up and they said, can you help us out by turning a couple of spindles? Sure, okay. How many you need? 30? Well, I don't do what would you call production work, so I'm probably not going to do this the way a real production person would do it, but I want to show you today how I set it up to make my spindles. But this is so cool because the home they're restoring is very old, it's beautiful, and they've got a lot of work ahead of them, and a lot of the wood rotted out, and so being part of something like that to help bring it back to life is really an honor for me. Now the setup I'm doing, I want to actually show you today in real time how I turn a spindle. And so this is all set up. I've got my visual here. I have my story stick ready. I've got the piece of wood mounted. So once we get going, we're not stopping until we're done. Hopefully nothing's going to blow up because that's the last piece of wood I have since I sent the stuff to them already. And I got to tell you, I'm getting pictures back and they look great in place. I mean, it's amazing. None of these are going to be the same, but because your eye fools you, they all look exactly the same. And that's one of the nicest things about handmade. That's why they didn't want this being made by a machine, because it would look way too uniform and it wouldn't look original. But before we get turning, I want to thank our sponsors, Robust Lathes and Easy Wood Tools, because without their support, we wouldn't be here and that would be no fun. And by the way, if you need a lathe, give me a call. I'm an authorized dealer for Robust. Or if you're looking for a hollowing system or some cool tools, go to my website, Woodturning with Tim, and you'll find them there. So now, let's get going and get on the timer. And we're off. Okay, we've got the blank mounted here. We're going to rough out first. This is actually 12 inches long, and so is my tool rest. I've got to do it in 2 passes. But I found out that when I got going on this, the faster I go, the better. So we're all the way cranked up on the speed. If you notice, I'm standing to the side, and that's because with those edges on the piece of the wood, if they come off, I want to be out of the way. But I'm just getting it round. And now that it's round, I've got my first caliper here, which is set at 2 1/8 inches. I need this to be 2 inches, so I'm leaving myself a little bit of a safety here. So I'm going to be an 1/8 inch too wide. And all I'm doing is making some depth marks here. And when you put this in, make sure that this part is in the groove. So I kind of wiggle it like that to make sure I'm there. If you don't do that, you wind up making too big of a cut and you get a lot of trouble. Okay, there we go. So I've got those. Now we're going to go back to our roughing gouge, and I'm going to even this out. I have my tool rest parallel to the bed of the lathe. We just did a video on that, so if you want to go back and search for it, it's really nice. You can see barely got any marks there, so we'll do one final pass. Now kids, when you're turning, they always say to turn the lathe off when you move your tool rest, but if you're production turning, you don't listen to that because you've got to keep going. So I'll come up here. Now on this end, I found out one interesting thing. I had a bad habit of taking off too much wood every single time, and I made it almost too narrow. So I'm leaving it extra fat for right now to be safe. There's just something about the end that I wanted to trim it too quickly. That's a nice sound. Okay, there we go. Now come back again. And now we're going to even that out. And we're going to make it blend into this part right here. Okay, got a little crooked there, got a little excited. There we go, like so. So the next diameter we have to make is going to be for the tenons, because these go onto blocks. You can see right here there's a block. Well, the block on either end is separate, and there's a tenon on here that goes into a hole here. So that's what we're going to make next. So I'm going to take my easy wood here. Come in here. This thing has been amazing for the speed in which I can make these. Oops. I got ahead of myself because I haven't been doing this. It's been a few days since I've done it. I have to take my story stick here. So this shows me the shape of the spindle, right? Flip it over. I did this one backwards, so I had to put the lines on here by hand. So what I'm going to do is take my story stick up here. From here over, that's tenon. I'm cutting that all down. Here's my next, these are my 4 beads. Here's a transition into the shaft, and then more features here, and here's the end like that. So this is set up to where I have a little extra room for the tenons, so I can always trim them to length if I need to. So now back to this. Okay, there's my diameter for the tenon. Now, I've got to move the tool rest closer to get in and make a nice cut here, so I'm going to bring it in. Now, on beads, I'm terrible at beads. I cannot do beads, and I have a lot of problems feeling my hands. So the technique I came up with was to do all 4 beads at the same time, one side at a time. Because I can go to my right and make a bead. Coming back to the left is tough. So what I'm doing is I'm getting that side done. By getting the right side done, I'm repeating the same motion over and over without having to turn around and reset and come back to this side and do this and come back like that. That's a lot harder to do. So, also when I'm doing it this way, I'm kind of able to even out the look of the beads in case one's a little thicker than the other. Although, again, since this is supposed to be done by hand, the look is preferable if the beads are slightly different. So now we're doing the left side, which is really fun. And another thing I found out was sandpaper is really my friend, because if I don't have a perfect bead, when I start sanding, I can make little adjustments in the shape of the bead. But generally you want to be as close to perfect as you can, because I'm going to start sanding at 180. Now there are skew masters out there who would come out here and they would just whip this out with a skew really fast. I cannot control a skew. That's just a problem of mine. The one thing I'm taking my time with here is the intersection, because I won't sand that and I want that to be nice and sharp. So yeah, that's bead number 3. And let's see, you get a little more look on it here. Yeah, see, that's historic looking. That one looks like crap, so that does look like it's made by hand. Come back here, just the right. Come back here, do the left. Okay. And now this is the last one here. This is kind of like a half bead. And we'll refine it here a little bit more in just a second. So right now we're 6 minutes in. I'm really slow right now. So I want to take my parting tool and I need to come to my next measurement, and this is my smallest diameter right here. This is 1 1/4, so I've got an 1/8 inch proud of that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is come back here with spindle gouge. We need to scoop this out. Talking slows this process down. I was able to get these done in about 8.5 minutes each when I was really flying. Now since I made this 1/8 of an inch too wide, I can come down into here and get the flow and curve that I need. Okay, now we're going to go back to Mr. Roughing Gouge, and let's see here. This is where the transition starts to come down. So while I'm doing this whole thing, I'm looking straight over to that to keep that for inspiration. That way I can kind of duplicate the look, or visually have something to set myself while I'm working. Right here, transition this out. And it's a curve all the way, so you just have to be careful with the curve. Now we're going to come back here, and I'm going to go ahead and get my tenon cut and get it out of the way. There we go, got our diameter. Make sure when you cut the tenon, you're also cutting inward just a little bit, because that's going to butt up against that block of wood, and you want to make sure that just the edge is touching, not the top. So we have, it's been a while since I've done this. Okay, we got one big bead on the top. And this is kind of the center mark of that bead. And then I'm going to come here and establish this part of the bead. And this is cool because this is just a straight angle. Push it in like so. There we go. I'm going to be done here in about 10 seconds. And then all you do after this is sand. So that looks pretty good. I can get real picky with it if I want, but nope. Time. There we are. 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Did good. Okay. Well, that was fun, and it was a really interesting project to try to figure out how to make a bunch of spindles, since I don't normally do it, and to be part of something historic like this house. Because one reason I started wood turning was I wanted to leave a legacy. We do videos all the time, but they're here and gone. But when you turn wood, it's something that will outlive you, outlive your children, outlive their children. And so it's a real honor that Forrest and Melissa asked me to be part of this home renovation. So that's how you make one of a bunch of spindles. Until the next time on Wood Turning, keep turning.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Robust. Built to turn wood, enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools.